Over the Garden Wall is the perfect fall fantasy show. If you're watching a show that features Elijah Wood getting lost in a magical forest, chances are you're witnessing a masterpiece. The premise to Over the Garden Wall is a teenage boy named Wirt and his little brother Greg get lost while trick-or-treating and end up in the woods. And from there, hijinks ensue. They travel all through these woods, going to all these very memorable places. And each time they get there, they're just trying to figure out how to escape the woods. Now, there's a few layers of mystery in this story, and I'm not going to spoil it, so don't worry. But one thing they have to contend with is there's the great beast of the forest that is, rampaging around, and they have to dodge and hide from throughout the story and try to avoid generally. Over the Garden Wall is animated, but you'll recognize plenty of familiar voices. Christopher Lloyd, John Cleese, Melanie Linsky. There were so many times where I was watching this and I was like, wait, I recognize that voice. Wait, almost every other character feels like, oh wait, I've heard this person in something else. If you're a fan of fantasy, then this is what you should be watching during the fall season. I mean, in between rewatching Lord of the Rings over and over again, this should be in the mix, And sure, it's a little Halloween themed, but it also works for fall in general. It's a great show for you to, get your pumpkin spice latte and curl up by the fire and binge the whole hour and like 10 minutes. It's like an hour and 11 minutes. Even if you don't have a lot of time, the episodes are like 10 minutes each. So you have no excuse. Go watch it. I tell everybody. Anybody who's even remotely into fantasy or stories with magic in it, which would, I guess, be fantasy anyways. But I'm like, have you seen Over the Garden Wall? Because you should. You should watch it. Go do that if you haven't. It's very quick. And what's more is if you're watching today, the day that I released this, it's the 10th anniversary of Over the Garden Wall. So on the Cartoon Network YouTube channel, I believe, I will find it and I will link wherever it is down below, but it's somewhere on YouTube. It's supposed to premiere today. They're doing a stop motion Over the Garden Wall short, which should be really cool. And I haven't seen any new Over the Garden Wall content in a decade, so I'm really looking forward to this. But basically, you have what the story's really about is this teenage boy and his little brother, and they're lost in the woods. And they have their brotherly struggles. Anybody who's had siblings will immediately relate to their little fights and banter and whatnot. Although the story is very short, Wirt does have a nice little character arc. He goes through change as the story progresses. There's even side characters that go through change and grow, which is a really cool feat, considering, again, this is such a short and quick story. But it's creepy and cool. There's a few songs here that will absolutely get stuck in your head. Each new area of the forest that Wirt and Greg show up to are so just memorable and distinct. And, you go from a pumpkin harvesting town, which again, I'm not going to spoil anything. They go to a giant mansion at some point. They go to an old schoolhouse. And each and every little place that they show up to, each new area, has its own mystery that gets resolved in about 10 to 11 minutes. And, well, mostly it'll be funny and pretty lighthearted. It'll eventually take a dark turn here and there. There'll be moments of where, oh, that got dark, and then, oh, that got serious and emotional, and it'll come out of nowhere sometimes and have a really sentimental, nice moment. And it's just, I can't recommend this enough. This is one of these perfect shows. A masterpiece, a great piece of art, it's just so good. One of the biggest mysteries you're trying to figure out as this show's going on is, what is this forest? Where are they? They got lost in the woods, sure, but there's all these supernatural and weird things happening, and just a lot of magical stuff. Why is that? And that's part of what you kind of have to figure out as the story's going along. And, man, it's just fun, but it also is emotional, and you really care about the characters. These characters are so incredibly easy to root for. The older brother, Wirt, is a worrywart. He's very concerned, very just like, oh, I don't know if we could do this, very nervous and stressed out. Meanwhile, the younger brother, Greg, carefree, clueless, doesn't know or care what's going on, and he has a pet toad who he names Wirt, just to make things a little more confusing. This is one of those shows that it starts off great and ends great. It totally sticks to the landing. It's such a perfect blend of spooky, magical, emotional, funny, all just blended together with outstanding voice acting performances, and the animation is so cool. The animation style has a sort of creepy, wholesome feel to it, and it's incredible. And the animation style, being creepy and wholesome, it really matches the feel of the story and the feel of just this forest, which has some really nice characters, but some, really dangerous characters, and, it's a creepy, dangerous, but at times wholesome adventure. It all works so well together. The characters, the forest, the music. I didn't even talk about the music. I know I said there's a couple memorable songs, but like the music in general is great. The music really conveys a sort of haunting, happy forest. The contrast of being alone in the woods, but also having, cool little moments of joy, I guess. I mean, again, you could see this represented in the characters, Wirt and Greg. Wirt is filled with worry. He's a worrywart. And Greg is carefree and happy, but it just works so well together. I'll make a spoiler version to talk about all the mystery and strangeness of the forest. But the entire point of this video is just for me to say, it's a great story. Go watch it.